Hey guys, happy Friday. Joe, the Joe Madden Sports Podcast here, joined by Adam Kaplan, COO of SportsGrid. Welcome to the show, Adam. How's Friday treating you?
Thanks for having me, Joe. Friday's going pretty well here. Hopefully the same for you and the listeners and viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's a nice sunny day behind you. Sunshine coming in.
Sunshine coming in New York, so the weather is fine.
That is good to hear. Our weather has been kind of all over the place as of late. You never know what you're going to get, but that's expected in Calgary in the summer. It could snow at one point. We never know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you would know better than I would, so I'll take your word for it.
Adam, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your story into the industry. I want to talk about before SportsGrid. We will get to SportsGrid in a couple of minutes, but let's talk about how you originally started in this industry.
Sure. Well, I actually first started not in this industry of sports, working at a ad tech company in New York back in 2008, 2009 called Yext, and got a lot of sort of sales focused experience there. Ultimately, before being introduced and reintroduced to Nick Bonadio, who was at the time the CEO of a small but mighty sports analytics platform called NumberFire, which at the time was really the only platform focused on taking all the data that existed around sports and trying to predict future performance of players and teams for betting and fantasy that was really out there. And so jumped in there to run the business as COO, and we built the business across subscription, advertising, and enterprise licensing, and ultimately built the user base as well, which we sold to FanDuel in 2015. And that's how I ended up at FanDuel running the content strategy, which is where, I spent a lot of time with SportsGrid and ultimately across a number of different key initiatives that FanDuel was focused on and still is focused on, such as owned and operated media strategy, social media, multimedia, a lot of the talent and influencer content partnerships and the like.
Yeah, really interesting path that you have had into this industry. Were you always interested in business growing up?
Yes and no. I think I deep down always knew that I was more of a people person, and that probably lended itself more to business. But I can't say that when I was 8 or 9 or 10, I grew up, dreaming of being, an executive or anything like that.
What did you dream of being, Adam?
For a while, I probably thought I could play sports until I realized that wasn't in the cards. And so that's when I think the focus started to shift. So, obviously, I probably did doing better now than I would have done if I would have tried to be a professional athlete of some kind.
Absolutely. What sports did you grow up playing then, Adam?
So baseball, golf, some basketball were really kind of the core ones.
Absolutely. Well, it's great that you're able to combine your executive business strategies with sports here as well and combine kind of that love. Where do you think you saw yourself going when you started your career? Was it the same place that you're at right now?
I probably expected more of like a sales path, which, we do plenty of sales, obviously at SportsGrid, but really more of like a direct kind of sales path. And so over time, I think my career just evolved and I did start to focus on, doing things I was really passionate about and being places where I could have skin in the game and a seat at the table, and just try to let that path lead me. And honestly, also just work with really great people. I've been fortunate in my career to really work with some excellent teammates, and not even just at SportsGrid, like obviously before as well. And so, just fortunate to have been surrounded by really great people that showed me the way and ultimately also allowed, to work well as a team and do some really great things that I think we're all really proud of.
Now, you should be extremely proud of the position that you are in right now with COO of SportsGrid. Did you have a mentor as you started early in your career?
So I think I have a few different mentors that I've had kind of throughout my career, and, just folks that you sort of work with to become better, but also, just observe and watch. And I think early in my career at Yext, people like Brian Distelberger, who's the president, Howard Lerman, who's the CEO, who really were probably the first people to see something in me, Brian in particular. I think over, the years, you get to work with great people like at FanDuel, getting to work with Matt King and, Christian and Andy and so many of the others that were there. Like I said, just an amazing team that I think accomplished a lot over a number of years. And now, and even in my time, before in knowing Lou Mayone, who's the president and president and one of the co-founders of SportsGrid, just getting to pair all of those mentors, kind of learnings, teachings, but also just observing them and the way they operate and melding that together, I think is just really special. And that's ultimately, where I think I've been probably more fortunate than most, is getting, exposure to that many different kind of executive leaders and styles.
Oh, that's fantastic. You've had such a amount of great mentors in this industry. What do you think, if you would have to say one of your accomplishments that's really stood out over your business career or your personal life, what would it be, Adam?
Probably my kids. I think we were talking about my kids off air. So Aiden, my number one job is to be Aiden and Stella's dad. And so and be a good husband. So that's where I try to focus.
I love that you're such a family man and such a successful businessman in the industry as well, Adam. You are absolutely crushing it in life. I'm so proud of you. What motivates you? Is it your kids? Is it your kids that you wake up and you grind daily in this industry?
Yeah, look, I think it's just, like anybody else, there's plenty of doubters out there and people that, don't think you can do things right. And so try to harness that mindset, harness that, the feelings that you get when people doubt you and try to turn them into, positive developments, is really ultimately just carrying a chip on your shoulder and trying to do the best you can, work really hard, try to be a good person, and see, where the chips fall, is sort of how I try to live my life. And, ultimately I know that there are going to be plenty of people out there that think one thing or another, and it's just trying to prove the doubters wrong, and the advocates and allies, and friends of the family and whatnot, right.
And I'm sure you have an incredible support system as well, Adam.
I'm very fortunate.
That is wonderful to hear. Now let's talk about more of what you do at SportsGrid and what you have happening.
Yeah, so SportsGrid is really a one-of-one business in an incredibly unique position. So there's really no other network out there that is as ubiquitously distributed, focused on reaching cord-cutting sports fans and focused on sports betting. And so as a result, it's really on the cutting edge of, cord cutting, connected TVs, OTT streaming, but also, with the linear audio and satellite presences to match. And so it's broadly distributed, and we're very proud of that, available for free almost everywhere, which we're also very proud of. And we are just fortunate to have great partners like FanDuel, who we've worked with since 2018, BetMGM, Underdog, and some others that we're going to announce shortly as well. Yeah, we're very excited. And so I think ultimately it's just a really cool business to be involved in and watch grow every day. It's in a really strong position, which is important, especially in today's market climate, to just be able to control your own destiny and grow at your own pace. And I think we're, fortunate that the growth has been really aggressive, but also, we know that we're just well positioned, and that's what we're trying to capitalize on.
Yeah, you guys are putting out such great content. It seems like every time I turn around, there is some sort of notification coming up of a show that is on or a show that's streaming. How many shows do you think you're running daily?
So we're running 18 hours a day of live programming and on video, and 21 hours a day of audio.
That is absolutely insane, Adam. I can't even imagine how much work that takes behind the scenes for the team of SportsGrid, but you definitely have a great team with you.
We have an amazing team, probably the best in the industry as far as I can tell. And, certainly a team that does a tremendous amount and punches well above their weight, really at any sort of stage of its development, going back till the earliest days of the company. And so I think it's really just inspiring to get to work with them every day and see the business and how it's grown is just really cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. What do you think is the best part of what you do, Adam? What's your favorite part of your work life?
The people. The people are always the best part.
Yeah.
And, fortunate to be the case here too, where it's just get to work with so many amazing people that have such great passion and skill in their area. And so it makes, certainly my life a lot easier. And I think ultimately, the team is what drives the business. And it's about the people, not the place, right? So, the people that make up the place.
Yeah, and you've got people spread all over. Does SportsGrid do any big events where you guys get together, or have you guys had the chance to do that yet?
We have, towards the end of last year, and we also have holiday parties and all the like. So we do try to get the team together, as much as we can. And, we're fortunate to have multiple studio footprints. So we have, our footprint in Midtown Manhattan at Versa, which is a sports restaurant. And then our headquarters in Holmdel, New Jersey, where, we have Master Control and a studio and a whole bunch of other, kind of team of a whole bunch of other departments and team members kind of work from there. And so, I think we do a good job of making sure that we're, hitting on all of our locations and making sure that we're getting the team together as much as possible.
Okay, I've got to ask you, if you had $10 billion right now, what would you be doing?
10 million or billion?
Billion. Let's go with billion. What would you do?
10 billion.
Yeah, you never have to work a day in your life. Your kids are set up. Everyone's set up. Would you still be going into SportsGrid, or where would you be?
I was going to ask, is it for personal use or
personal, all yours?
Yeah, I think I'd still be working on some level. I just feel like otherwise I would go a little crazy, but I definitely would be passionately trying to ramp up, different charitable contributions, that could be made to try to make the world a better place. I think, it's going to be presumably, and I don't have $10 billion, so I don't have the luxury of knowing for sure on my own today whether, this is the case or not, but I would assume that it's probably more likely that you can change the world for the better if you have that much money to be able to deploy. And so I would probably try to use some of it at least to try to change the world for better.
And if I was a betting person, that's exactly what the answer I thought I was going to get out of you was, because this whole interview you've talked about how people mean the most to you, your family means the most to you. You definitely are someone who is changing the world for a better. Adam, I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast.
Thanks for having me, and hope everybody has a good Friday and a good weekend.
Have a wonderful weekend, Adam. You guys, I will be back at the top of the hour with another Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Adam, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.